MAGA men are head over heels for Jessica Foster, an Instagram influencer and active service member with nearly 1 million followers. She's constantly in the Oval Office taking pictures with Donald Trump and Melania. She regularly showcases her feet and her other assets, sometimes even while she's in active combat duty. The only problem? She's not real. Nonetheless, she has a booming OnlyFans account, is monetized across social media platforms, and has hundreds of thousands of devoted followers, many of whom love how much she loves President Trump. So, are MAGA men falling for an AI generated influencer, or do they just no longer care if the women who they love are even real at all? A lot of people first became aware of Jessica Foster by way of this Blue Sky post that says online MAGA men are falling for the AI creation Jessica Foster, who is a combination US Army advisor to Trump and foot fetish model. The character already has nearly 1 million Instagram followers. And you can see in some of her pictures here that she posts herself claiming to have met at real Donald Trump at the at White House after the successful operation heart emoji. Here's a fake AI generated selfie of her with Donald Trump in the Oval Office. And then in this one, she's sitting in some sort of military operations room with a bunch of men and women dressed in combat wear. She's wearing some sort of military dress. She has her bare feet propped up on the counter, which is very indicative of fetishistic foot content. And she says, "Who wants to touch them?" as her caption. This has a lot of engagement. This has over 113,000 likes on Instagram, more than 3,000 comments, and has been sent to people more than 15,000 times. Now, going over to the Jessica Foster Instagram page, where yes, she has close to 1 million followers, the very first thing that sticks out to me about this profile is her description in bio that says, America first, but more importantly, yes, I have one, finger pointing down. If you are familiar with the OnlyFans economy in any way, this is a line that indicates you have an OnlyFans account. And if you go to this link in her bio, you'll see that she's utilizing this platform called link.me that a lot of real human beings who do OnlyFans have used to prevent their Instagram accounts from getting shadow banned or scrutinized because OnlyFans links are often not allowed. And here you can see that, yes, she does have an OnlyFans platform, which we'll dive into in just a second. I wanted to make a note that I'm referring to Jessica almost as if she's a real person, just for ease of having to explain each time that she's an AI generated figure, but she's not real. And a lot of AI critics have argued that referring to these characters like they're real people is sort of driving home this anthropomorphizing we're seeing of the technology that is ultimately misleading and leads people to believe that AI is capable of more than it actually is. So, just for reference throughout, when I say Jessica, when I refer to her as a she, when I refer to her at all as this like person or personified figure, she's not real. We don't know who created Jessica Foster. It could very well be a man. This could all be run by some guy. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. I've reported on OnlyFans and various operations on the platform for years now. So I already know that a lot of times when people are reaching out to a woman on OnlyFans, the person who's actually running her DMs and responding is usually not her, especially with these influencers who have millions of followers on other platforms and run these, like, oftentimes very successful, very lucrative OnlyFans accounts. A lot of times they have management, they have teams who are running their OnlyFans platform for them. And sometimes, if you're a guy who thinks he's chatting with some influencer on OnlyFans, you're actually talking to another guy who is being paid to impersonate that person on OnlyFans. This is a very common management structure within the OnlyFans world. And it doesn't apply to everyone who's on OnlyFans. There are plenty of independent creators doing everything themselves. But when you get into this influencer territory, where these people in this case aren't even real, then of course it's somebody else managing the OnlyFans page, responding to DMs, responding to comments. And a lot of times that person is a man. So, in the case of Jessica Foster, the she could very well be a he because the she could be anyone. We don't know who's created Jessica Foster. We don't know who's behind this. And that's one of the things that's so potentially malicious about this. This could be a foreign government's propaganda or it could be US propaganda. Like, we just don't know. And that's one of the problems with AI generated influencers is there's no transparency or accountability for who's generating the images, writing the captions, making the money. Where is this profit going? But going back to this Jessica Foster OnlyFans account, it's free to subscribe. So I went ahead and did just to see what she's offering. And I probably can't show you all of these pictures. None of them are sexually explicit. There's no nudity here. But these are also AI generated images of this same Jessica character in a bikini or in underwear or things like that. And so the account is free to subscribe to, but once you get into it, a lot of times people on OnlyFans, they'll market free content and then make money by DMing people and offering them custom images or videos or custom forms of communication, things like that. So a lot of times the money is being made sort of behind closed doors in these private DMs with fans. In Jessica's case, a lot of the money is seemingly coming in through tips. So I scrolled down past a lot of AI generated content of her topless and wearing a bikini and things like that. And like I said, there's no nudity. This is all just suggestive. It's not even technically not safe for work, although for some people it might be. But here's an example of some of the material she's posting and actually making money from. So this post from January 6th, I don't know if that's a coincidence. This post from January 6th says, Thanks Thank you so much for the support lately. I love you all. I am online the full night, so send me a message if you're reading this. And as you scroll down, like again, she's AI generated, so this isn't a real person. And it's a fully clothed mirror selfie. And down here, we can see that it was liked by more than 650 people and earned over $100 in tips. So she has dozens of posts like this just on her main feed where she's making money from people tipping her, and we can't even see what's happening in the DMs, which is where most OnlyFans creators make a majority of their profit, at least the ones that I've spoken to. She also has an account on X where she only has 260 followers, but her account bio is interesting. Again, she says America first, but she also claims to be a crypto trader, an educator, helping you level up, X procrastination. You know, she's doing the crypto tags here for Tesla and Bitcoin. Don't come to my page to argue or you'll be blocked. And this account joined in August 2011, and it says it's based in Africa with 3 username changes, the last being on February 2026, connected via North America App Store. Account based in Africa is really interesting. And this notes that the country or region may not be accurate because this account may have used a proxy, such as a VPN, which could mask the country or region that they're actually posting from. But this is very interesting. This indicates that whoever is behind this has had this X account for a long time and they've just recently started this grift. And like looking at the crypto trader stuff in her bio, looking at the type of language that she is using here, this strikes me as a couple of different potential grifts all happening at once. You have the fake AI generated OnlyFans account that's making money. You have potentially crypto that's making money. This could be a form of crypto scamming. The educator helping you level up stuff sounds like a lot of the like entrepreneurial self-improvement grifts that influencers run. But one of the things that's unusual about this is I have yet to see these sort of AI generated personas of women in the military who also support Trump. And that leveraging of politics and Trump support seems to be the thing that's driving her growth on Instagram because this X account that's involving crypto, involving scammy courses, this clearly did not take off. This only has 260 followers. But if we go look at her recent posts, yeah, like this has no engagement. This is only working on Instagram. Very little engagement over here. But whoever runs this account is clearly a fan of Elon Musk and Tesla. So that is really interesting. On X, the Jessica Foster account is also posting about the war in Iran, saying, God, please look after our heroes. Hashtag MAGA, hashtag US Iran war, hashtag US military, hashtag Iran war, with this graphic that says, pray for them, of people in the military. And if we go back on the account, we can see some of the evidence of trying to push like these growth grifts, these crypto grifts. But what's really worked, again, are like these photos over on Instagram that are doing very, very well and getting just tons and tons of engagement. This fake picture of her walking side by side with Donald Trump on the tarmac has over 1 million likes. And if we go look at the comments, we can assume that at least some of these people are falling for this and don't realize that she's AI generated. It's hard to know if people in the comments are also just trying to leverage this for engagement bait, because, like, we have this comment near the top that says how a strong woman should look. But this person is also trying to advertise something. So people very well may be in on the grift and are just trying to grift off of it as well. Then you have accounts like, thank you so much for your service. It's hard to know if this is real or if people are just joking and playing along. But I think we can assume with this much reach and engagement that at least some people are falling for this. And that's not surprising, because if you go on Facebook and look at the fakest looking AI slop, you will also find comments from your grandparents being like, this is so cool, love this video. So people are absolutely vulnerable to being tricked and fooled by this type of AI material. And I think targeting and going after Trump supporters is smart, because these are people who have documented lower rates of media literacy. They are more gullible, they are more likely to fall for scams. That's probably why they voted for Trump in the first place. You also have a lot of comments here, like trying to push specific political messages, again, piggybacking off the engagement this account is getting for their own purposes, which is very interesting use of the platform. If we go back to the beginning of this account posting, at least in its current form, the earliest post is from November 2025, and it's a video of her, which is not real. It's AI generated. But it says, if you are a straight guy that likes an American Army girl, stop scrolling and leave a heart. And then you have all of these accounts leaving hearts. So I think we can assume that at least some people are falling for it at this stage. As we go throughout the account, you have, like, again, pictures of her in these military backgrounds with all of these guys in camo, posing with guys in the background, posing with other women, blowing kisses to the camera, wearing Santa hats. Some of these look faker than others. Oh, this is an interesting one. She's basically saying that her body count, aka the number of guys who she's slept with, has gone from 0 to 25. And she's also saying she's slept with 3 women, so she's bisexual. Good for her. Good for you, Jessica Foster. This is so weird. But I think what's going on here that's actually problematic is, in addition to all of the aforementioned things, like the scammy elements taking advantage of people here, it's also pushing sort of propaganda, not just in support of Trump, not just in support of the US military, but it's also objectifying women in the military. And we know that women in the military face higher rates of sexual violence than outside. We know that this is an extremely stigmatized environment for women to be in, where they experience high rates of sexual harassment, sexual violence, sexual abuse. So when we see something like this extremely sexualized depiction of a woman in the military, I don't think that that has great outcomes for how people perceive other women in the military. I feel like that could be a very troubling sort of impact of creating AI generated content like this, in addition to pushing pro Trump propaganda and pro war propaganda. There's these like fake pictures of her with Melania. Oh, there's this like Instagram reel of her with an AI generated man who she's captured. It's very disturbing. There's this AI generated picture of her with Ukraine's President Zelensky, and it says, Mr. Zelensky, please wear a suit next time. So it's like riffing on conservative talking points about Ukraine. Oh, there's this picture of her with AI generated Putin and Trump. And it says, trying to find an agreement regarding world peace. This is so weird. Oh, there's an AI generated picture of her in Greenland saying we finally arrived. This is playing off of Trump's desire to invade Greenland and take it over for America. I don't like the way that this is depicting women of color either. I think that's very insidious. Yeah. I mean, this whole thing, it looks like Mike Pence in the background of this picture, which is ironic because that would signal this photo, whatever this was originally pulled from, being from Trump's first term. And then the last thing of interest that I wanted to point out that I found on her Instagram page is this AI generated image of iShowSpeed, who's another popular influencer who is not in the military. So she's leveraging the likenesses of real influencers, real politicians in order to promote her profile further. I think all of this is very disturbing. I think that this is effectively a form of propaganda that sort of softens and sexualizes the image of what Trump's second administration is doing. It sort of softens and glamorizes and sexualizes this vision of the US military at a time when Trump is commanding troops to strike innocent people around the world. It functions primarily as a way for the creator of this AI character to make money, but I could also see it having a negative socio-cultural effect on people who are sort of just intaking this and might not even know that this is AI, or just is skewing their perception of how they view these political current events associated with the account. So I think that is very problematic. And I also think it's problematic in general to have shadowy anonymous figures profiting from the sexualized likeness of women on these platforms. I think for big tech platforms like Instagram, which is owned by Meta, X, owned by Elon Musk, and OnlyFans, like, it doesn't really negatively affect them. It just makes these tech companies more money. So they have no incentive to moderate this or get rid of this type of content. But on a very basic level, it's inherently manipulative because these platforms are supposed to be showing you real people. And now they're showing you AI and not even differentiating between what's real and what's fake. So, in theory, this should go against a lot of these platforms' policies. But the reality is, I think we're actually going to be seeing significantly more of this stuff. And I also question when it comes to the MAGA men who are falling for this. I also wonder if deep down, these guys don't really care if the woman who they're looking at is real or not. I could actually see it being a situation where they prefer AI women because these are women who they can control. These are not real women. They do not have real thoughts, feelings, or autonomy. They are entirely the product of male imagination. So, in a way, this is exactly what men like this want because they can boss her around and she'll never speak back. She'll never have opinions or thoughts of her own. She'll never want anything other than what they want because she's a product of their creation. And so I think we're going to be seeing more and more of these types of AI models fulfilling these very base desires for domination over women. And in a way, that desire for domination and control is also at the heart of a lot of what the Trump administration is doing through its military actions in real life. They are trying to invade other countries. They are trying to subvert the will and autonomy of people who already live there. They want to bomb people into smithereens with no accountability because they objectify them and they don't view them as people. They're totally dehumanized. So I think that this Jessica Foster character and everything she represents feeds directly into the ideology that MAGA already adheres to. Who cares if it's a real woman or not? They hate real women. I think they would rather have an AI generated woman to fulfill all of their fantasies and desires. I think one of the real questions is, well, where does this leave the rest of us? We can try to ignore it. We can laugh at and mock the Jessica Foster characters of the world, but this represents an encroachment into our online spaces, our shared spaces where we form community and gather news and learn about the world around us. It's being taken over by this deluge of AI slop. And I think that is a bigger problem, is that real women are being sidelined so that these fake women puppeteered by why disgusting men can instead take over our feeds and symbolize what people are paying attention to. So, all of that to say, I find the Jessica Foster character very disturbing. I find it all very pathetic as well that anyone would be creating this, that people would be sending her money. But ultimately, I don't find it surprising. And considering how pro AI and anti AI regulation the Trump administration is, this is also not surprising. I think that this is the type of propaganda that they're hoping will be created. And so, with that, I would say if you see Jessica Foster in the wild, just block her. We do not need her to be a part of our future moving forward.